Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
All right. We're back in the saddle for episode 460 of the Massenomics podcast, the lifting podcast about nothing, formerly the world's strongest podcast. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy. I'm glad you cleared that up. I don't want anyone to be confused about what this podcast was formerly known as when they're...
Yeah, we used to be the world's strongest podcast. I always know we have back catalog warriors arming themselves for battle, going through the first 459 episodes prior to this one, and they might come through those first 100 and some and go, whoa, what is this, the world's strongest podcast?
Did I listen to the wrong show?
We used to be the world's strongest podcast. Now, and for quite a while, for several years, we're the lifting podcast about near fin. Tommy, this week we got an exciting episode, a lot to get to, but first of all, I want to mention our friends over at Build Fast Formula Supplements. They are the supplements that Tommy and I both use. We use them because we like them. We like them because we use them and trust them. And you can use them, trust them, like them, get a pump from them also by heading over to buildfastformula.com. Check out their Vaso Blitz, Full Blitz, 80-20 protein, their Blitz 3D, Glyco Hack, Drink Hack, and recently added their creatine monohydrate. You can save 10% on every order that you get from them by using discount code Massenomics. So if you haven't ordered anything from Build Fast Formula yet and you've been a listener for a while, consider supporting them. They support us, and we would appreciate it. And you can save a little bit with discount code Massenomics.
This episode is also brought to you by Barefoot Shoes. If you head on over to www.barefoot.store, you can check out some of the best minimalist shoes available on the market today. Tanner, as part of this ad, I want to know, give me the update, man. Didn't you just get a pair of the new Ursus?
Yeah, I got the Ursus Gen 2. That's
Okay.
right. I do have those.
Okay, first impressions.
Yep.
Let's get them.
I like them. I guess what I say is there's a time and a place for the Gen 1s and the Gen 2s. I don't think the Gen 2s don't replace the Gen 1s in my eyes.
I could see that.
They certainly have a little bit more traditional style to them, at least in comparison to maybe some other kind of minimalist shoes. But what I would say, whether you consider it a pro or con, I honestly don't know which one it is. I don't think it's either. It's just a difference, is they don't feel quite as minimalist.
Right, which makes sense because there's
right.
a visible sole now. So
Right. So sometimes I still really prefer my Gen 1s because I have grown to really like that feel of like a truly minimalist shoe, and I really feel that with the Ursus Gen 1. The Gen 2 doesn't feel quite as minimalist, but there's also times when I'm like, maybe this style of a shoe is more representative for the activity that I'm wanting to participate in here.
I could see that. And so for people that don't know, the Ursus Gen 1 is the first barefoot shoe, which has, when you look at it, almost no visible sole at all. It's extremely thin. That's the one we've been rocking for the past several years. The Ursus Gen 2 just recently came out. Tanner, did you get your pair like this week? Like you just got them, did you?
Yeah, I think they came in some between the last time we recorded. So yeah, they just came in. I've worn them for a few days is all.
Yeah, and that one, the biggest difference, the upper appears to be exactly the same. It really is just the sole is just minimally
the material
thicker.
On the upper and everything feels, seems exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay, and the fit's the same. It really is just that little more presence of a sole.
Yeah, more presence of a sole. Unlike people with red hair, so
I was thinking, I did phrase that an odd way. All right,
Phrasing.
well, if we won't talk about it anymore, but if you want to get in on this action, head on over to barefoot.store, use code Massenomics, and you can save 10% on your next order. Thank you, Barefoot Shoes.
Thanks, Barefoot. Oh boy, we got a lot this week. We got a title topic coming up. A real real zim zam hoedown we got here this week, and we're going to talk our title topic later. But first, we've got all kinds of non-title topic things to talk about. But a little housekeeping. I would mention, as we're recording, our drop is tomorrow. So as it's come out, our drop has already dropped, and we talked about a lot of this last week, so we don't have to rehash every bit of it down to the gnat's ass. But I would say again, if we're talking gnat's asses, I don't know what it has to do with this, but make sure to check out our MSS NMX license plate. I did a little research on this, and I forgot where I wrote down my research, so it's almost irrelevant that I did a little research. Actually, I do know where I wrote it down. I want to find it. I looked up what years this exact license plate was. It was actually a lot for this being as memorable it is to me. You know, the number of years that this was actually in production wasn't as long as you would think.
Really?
It was, you can Wikipedia it, and you can, they've got a really good description, a layout of it, but I wrote it down here. This was 1996 to 1999.
Really? Only
style.
3 years. Well,
yeah. But I suppose then they stick around. It wasn't like.
Yeah. Because
I don't think
the license plate game in South Dakota is super lax, so people were probably rocking those until 2010, pretty easy.
Well, I occasionally still see this sitting on old vehicles in the.
Did you know that that's like a thing for people to in states? Like, I was not aware of this until some of the podcasts some of the car podcasts that I listen to, and they talk about, you want to get around emission stuff and like expensive registration. You just register your vehicle in South Dakota. I guess that's a thing people do now that aren't from here. I guess Montana is another popular one, but South Dakota and Montana are both like, we'll just let you register anything. Well, Isn't that the rule with South Dakota? You have to live here like 1 day a year to be considered a resident.
Yeah, well, who was talking about? Was that on the Let's Get Stupid podcast someone was talking?
Maybe that was where they
Tom
brought it up.
Callis or someone was brought it up to us.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Though,
that is
get
surprising.
yourself.
I see that right here, 96 to 2000. There is a slight or that's what this one says.
The one prior to that, or prior or after, one or the other looks
it's
very
pretty similar. Yeah, so that'd be
but
like
this
92.
is the more iconic one.
It is.
This is the one that I recognize.
That's where they perfected it. But
the prior one to this doesn't stick out in my memory, but this one will live rent free in my head forever.
And I don't know if that's just because that was just when we were getting to the age where you maybe start paying attention to that a little bit, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. It is an iconic one though.
Yeah, so get your own. It is authentic, whatever this metallic material is that it's made out of. I guess is it aluminum?
I believe it's stainless steel.
I think it's what it's. I know it's
with a volcano neural pattern on the back.
Yeah, is this aircraft grade or?
I think everything's aircraft grade that we do. We don't do anything that's not.
Everything's aircraft grade if you try hard enough.
That's right.
It doesn't make sense.
Say it louder for the people in the back, Tanner.
And then we got all of our new stickers, and we never did show off what the shirt is. Maybe we just leave that in limbo still, or do we show it off?
You could maybe show it. I don't have one. Do you have one? Do you have any shirts nearby?
Oh, gosh. Nope. No shirts in here.
These are all just boxes designed to look
Should we show it off then?
Maybe not a bad idea. It's just, I told Tanner can still hear. He's digging for the shirt right now, but Tanner told me when he got the shirt, he goes, this is just one of the best looking shirts. And I thought, okay, yeah, like we say stuff like that about the new shirts. And then I got mine in the mail and I thought, this is just straight up one of the best looking shirts, from the shirt blank to the ink color to the ink, the way the ink went down, just everything on the shirt looks so good.
Also, you showed off one of the new sticker packs, the Crispy Boys of all the cans. You showed that off last week, but we should show off the other one that we didn't show that the other sticker pack. It's going to be a glitter sticker pack. So the first sticker in the lineup is the Raw Power sticker.
And these all have the holographic glitter look.
Yeah.
And they're die cut as well. Really up in the premiumness.
Yeah. Next one is the Massenomics Lifting Department glitter sticker. Hopefully that's coming through. Mm-hmm. And the last one, the piece de la resistance, is
the chicken bake
glitter sticker. Grams of protein now in a die cut glitter sticker.
It's just so excessive in every way, but looks great.
My son was extremely excited about this.
Really?
Sticker.
He liked the chicken bake one?
He put one on his school computer immediately.
That's as high of a praise you can get on a sticker.
Facing government property instantly. And then the shirt brought back out of the vault, improved, better than ever, possibly our best shirt ever. We both, at least until we come out with another new one. For now, it is our best ever. It's the Massenomics Raw Power 2.0 edition, now on the colorful creations, slightly boxier.
Colorful
blank,
creations. Wait a minute.
Or
Comfort colors.
comfort colors. I'm crossing my wires.
Yeah.
That's actually a different topic I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
But, comfort colors, CC. And what this is, it's like a gray color. I don't know
Yeah,
what
it might
it's
be called
but-
graphite. Maybe it's just
graphite.
a kind of a dark gray. And if you bought any of these blanks before, you know that they're a thicker, boxier fit, which gives it a premium feel. And it's kind of hard to come across on camera, but man, just the way the colors are on there and the way that ink is laid down, it is nice.
Yeah, it's real nice.
And we haven't had the Raw Power T-shirt now for 2+ years, I think, maybe even 3.
Yeah.
And that was always one of my all-time favorites. The only Raw Power T-shirt I have right now is a large, and that is pretty tight on you, boy. So I need a new one badly.
Yeah. I'm excited about that one, though. That is a sweet shirt. And then we still don't know if the third round of the certified training facility flags and packets, we're not sure if that's going to come out the same day or it might be a little later down the road. It depends on when things show up in our timeline. So that's actually in flux even as of today. So that'll either be in the strap or just a little bit down the road for your third chance at that. So that is the drop. And then what are we going to hit back on horse stall mats again this week?
Oh, man, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It doesn't end. And part of me looks at the home gym Facebook group and says, "Oh, we've infected it with a virus. We have infected it with this horse stall meme thing." But then I also watch and I think, no, this has happened to itself. Like the number of times it still is a daily organic occurrence, and it doesn't seem possible, but it is.
And then Coop had a video reference. What was his YouTube
10
video?
things you should. I don't know if it was you should not buy or you should not spend money on in your home
10
gym.
things I hate about you?
Maybe that's what it was.
Or is that a popular rom-com movie from our
That's
childhood?
probably that sounds more correct. yeah.
Quick, who's in 10 Things I Hate About You?
Heath Ledger. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Goldie Hawn, or am I even saying? Is that a person?
Goldie Hawn is
Or is
a
it Goldie
person,
Hawn's
I'm pretty
daughter?
sure. Heath Ledger is in it. Julia Stiles, Joseph
Okay.
Gordon-Levitt.
You were right then, Heath Ledger. I actually was like 50-50. That's how I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any Goldie Hawn. Or you're thinking of what is her name? She's in that movie with Matthew McConaughey.
Yes. I'm thinking of that movie. That is also 10 Things I Hate About You. It's just it's just a different one they made that's the same movie.
Kate Hudson. God, I could not think of that name.
Yeah. What's that movie then?
True Detective. Actually, that just reminds me. I'm pretty sure it was the president of North Dakota sent me a DM one day, or I can't remember, he sent me a meme or something, and it was talking about how before one of the big Texas games, because Matthew McConaughey's always on the sideline of the Texas games.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
I thought it said before one of them he was giving a speech to the locker room, and the meme was something along the lines of like, this game has already been played thousands of times, like, given the whole like space flat circle conundrum. And I'm like, dude, there is no way that he did not like say those things.
Yeah.
Like, he 100%, if he gave a speech, he said those things.
Yes.
This game has been played thousands. This game plays itself every day. We're just lucky enough to be the ones that play it this time.
Yeah, so that movie is How to Lose a Guy
in 10 days. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you actually didn't have your wires crossed that much, because 10 things I hate about you, How to Lose a Guy in 10 days. Yeah, very similar.
Which one's better?
I actually have not seen either one. I have seen parts of both of them, but I've never seen either one.
I've definitely seen How to Lose a Guy in 10 days, and that might not be that bad of a movie, like as far as having to watch those movies, and at least for the period. That's got to be the better one.
See,
I can't think
thought
of the
10
other
Things
one.
I Hate
but-
About You was regarded pretty highly, I thought.
Okay.
But let's go
I wonder what
IMDb score.
which one
7.3. 7.3 on 10 Things I Hate About You.
Is that a pretty good IMDb score?
I don't know. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, 6.5. So,
Well, yeah.
the people may
10
have
Things I Hate
spoken
About
there.
You is better. Yeah. I guess people like Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
He got that being dead bump afterwards, too.
The Joker.
so-
He's got that Joker
Yeah.
thing going for him.
Okay. Enough about shitty rom-com movies that we haven't seen.
That we don't know the names of or the people that are in them.
But Coop had a video about
That's what we were talking about. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, back to the horse stall thing, where it just feels like it's a joke that the whole world is in on now. Is that Coop's latest video, 10 things you should, 10 things I hate about your gym, or whatever it was. The first one he starts out with
How to lose a home gym in 10 days.
his horse stall mats. His first topic is gym flooring, and he talks about horse stall mats for multiple minutes of this video, and it just feels like you're beating a dead horse at this point. But
Yeah.
he just went on and on about them. And
I like how he even said like it's a running joke in the home gym.
you just put horse stall
Facebook
mats on
group
your
and
horse
stuff,
stall
yeah.
mats.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that it just never goes away.
I went to first of all, you got something to drink over there? What are you drinking?
Just plain old water. I was digging through the fridge. I couldn't find any sparkling.
Ugh. What are you, a peasant?
Kind of feel like one right now.
It's like I'm hanging with the poors.
That's right.
Well,
Oh,
I sit over
man.
here
And you come in here with one of
on
those?
my high horse on the LaCroix Pamplemousse.
Just class over there.
Wow. If there was ever a classic, it might not be the best one ever, but I think it might not be the best sparkling water ever, but I think it's the one that all others are measured against.
It is. It is the measuring stick. Is it? I'll turn the can. There's a measuring stick printed right on the side of it.
Yeah, it says
Yep.
this is about right at 3.5 JD Power and Associates Awards right here.
The original 3.5 rating.
If you look up 3.5 JD Power and Associates Awards in the Encyclopedia Britannica, they've got a picture of a LaCroix Pamplemousse in it.
right there.
When you were growing up at your house, did you guys have a set of encyclopedias?
No, we didn't. I had some friends that lived down the street that did though, and every once in a while, once you start digging through there, it'd get pretty addicting. This is cool. This is cool. This is like you just keep going on and on and on. We have Wikipedia for that, but
Right.
yeah, we weren't privileged enough for the encyclopedia set.
Now we have Chat GPT.
That's right. Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, we had a set of I think they were like ours were even probably old. Like they were at least a decade or two older than but like you'd go look at countries in the
United States didn't have 50 states in it. You're like,
No,
it used to be a proper
like,
country.
What like Istanbul, Constantinople, like where it's like different.
The other one I was growing up was always in schools, at least for us. The whole Russia USSR thing was never quite sorted out, depending on what map you were looking at in what room.
Well, yeah, we were just young enough that like maybe it was in the 90s and like some of the maps
The
that
early to mid 90s,
20 years old.
Yeah, the map
still.
budget wasn't getting updated. The maps weren't getting
Right.
updated every few years, so some of those borders and labels were not quite correct.
Wasn't a priority in South Dakota public schools to get new maps all that often. But what was I actually talking about? What was I talking about?
The encyclopedia, Wikipedia.
It doesn't really matter what I was talking about, but I did go to a. Are you familiar at all with the Aberdeen Wings?
I've heard of them. I feel like I'm familiar with their venue for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on it.
That's
but-
true. I don't like. Do you think we've in 460 episodes have we ever mentioned the Aberdeen Wings? Like
That's
we had
actually
to have, right?
a really good question. You would think we have, but nothing is coming to mind immediately ever discussing them.
Big Anthony says once we have. I don't know how he knows.
There it is.
Yes. One time and one time only.
I think the last time I went to one of those games was probably about 2012-ish.
Were they around that long? When did they?
Yeah,
start?
they were.
Like,
it was
feel
a
like I
pretty
remember
new.
when they started.
It was
Yeah.
one of their first few seasons, and
God, I can't believe they've been around that long. I feel like they're relatively new still, but it's like, oh no, they've been here for like 15 years.
Yeah, I think when I just moved to town is when they were just starting, so that was like 2010 or 11. Yeah, so
Okay.
it was right there. But at those times, I had fun the few times I went. You know, it helped that I was part of a big group, so we had like the kind of the party area with where the beer was flowing and people were there to have a good time.
I go to a game maybe about once a year. I'll go like when I get free tickets for work and like we have a suite, so then there's free food and you know you don't there again. I don't have to sit with the peasants. The common
Right,
folk
just
who
really live it
go
up.
Yeah, and first of all, I did notice it's a little chillier in there than it was this summer when we were there. Something about
Doesn't take a whole lot to be chillier than when we're there.
and side tangent, but some weather we had been having this last week. Like when I went to that hockey game, when we left that night, I'm like, it is so cold out. It was like -15 actual temperature when we left the hockey game.
Yeah,
That day.
it feels like it was the same thing here. The feels like the one day was like -32 or something. And we can talk more about this later. But yeah, it was my electric heater in the gym doesn't hold up the best when it's -32 outside.
What was it like when it was like that?
So I
Or
started.
I guess we're going to talk about that more again. Later.
We'll talk about it when we get to the Juggernaut ad. That's usually training time.
All right.
Yeah, we can talk.
I do
about
want to hear about that. Actually,
yeah.
I've been meaning to just even ask you that, like even outside the podcast, because it's been so freaking cold.
Yeah.
But I went to the hockey game, and what stuck out as hilarious to me. This isn't the hilarious part, but I also noticed there's just a lot of people that go to those.
Mm-hmm.
Like that place is full. I'm like, Jesus, is it like this every week?
I think
And
it usually
was
is,
very
isn't it?
full. I think it is kind of all the time. And but the thing that stuck out to me the most at hockey, they're playing music almost all the time because there's so many like stoppages of play, and like every time they do, they play some music. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to sit here with a pen and paper because every track that they play is absolutely a song I could be using for a strongman, World's Strongest Man montage.
Oh, really?
It is just like perfect one after perfect one. I kept being like, oh my God, these are all excellent choices.
The
I'm
right
like,
mix of nostalgia and songs that everyone knows.
Yes, but then they do it, then they probably played like 30 of them because every one they only play for 10 seconds. Like, that's why they're getting the puck ready or getting everyone hyped up in between. I'm like, man, and then I wondered, do they do these same 30 every single week?
Probably.
Like, do you sit here in the same order? Like, do you hear every part?
It's just
like,
the playlist. They just start it from the top.
Oh, it's like, oh yeah, there's that 10 seconds of the Beastie Boys song. Yeah, there's 10 seconds of that Metallica song.
Yep.
Like
Enter
it's the same ones.
Sandman. All right.
Yeah.
Now intro to Sabotage. I can't. Yeah. Just run through them all.
I'm just wondering, is it this? I wonder if you went week to week, if it would be the same order of them, even where just they do the exact same ones.
Probably. Actually, that would not surprise me if there's a variability of like 4 songs is all. It's the same 50, and they just sub out a couple depending on what's going on.
But I didn't really think about it until it was too late. But I'm like, should have sat here and been writing these down because these are all
The cheat sheet,
just like
get
the
that
perfect
going.
ones I need. Yeah, I'm like, oh man, you cracked the code. You like laid out the formula right here for me.
It was right in front of me the whole time.
So great hockey tunes where I'm like, every one of the cliche songs like that they could play. They hit like every one in those couple hours. So that's my hockey update. That's our sports segment. Okay, how about I make this a true sports and books segment?
Oh,
wait. So that was
the telling me we got books to go with this sports segment?
Yeah, I read a book.
What?
So I just thought about that as I called it the sports and books segment. A couple weeks ago, I read a book. My wife got me a book for Christmas. It was about the SS Edmund Fitzgerald.
Oh, I did.
And-
Okay, I did see you had a little snap or whatever about that.
Yeah, it wasn't a very long. It was like maybe 150 pages, and but it was really interesting. It was a good read. I
So
can't even remember the name of it.
is
but-
this more of a just historical rundown of everything that happened?
Yeah, it was
or-
more of a very just historical rundown. Like it wasn't like a story. It was like, hey, here's what happened. Here's what actually, in some cases, here's what different groups believe happened because it's not known exactly what happened.
Mhm.
But it's like, here's the route they were taking. Here's the time that they left and what they ran into and like other historic shipwrecks like along their path. And
All right. So it was good though.
It was actually really good.
Was there any
admittedly have
facts?
become fairly interested in the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. So here's an interesting fact. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald was made by Northwestern Mutual. They're the ones that owned the SS Edmund Fitzgerald.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Northwestern Mutual as we know it today, or was this a different company?
Well, I mean, at the time it probably was slightly different, but I think somewhat as we know it today. Yeah.
Well, I guess we're also talking about, when was it? The 80s?
The 70s is when it sank, but it would have been built in. I think it was built in the 50s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Edmund Fitzgerald was an executive at Northwestern Mutual.
Oh, really?
It was very common to name the ships after executives of the companies and that sort of thing.
That's how you know you made it. Got a boat named after you.
Yeah. It was good. I don't need to rehash the story of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald as I've already done on this podcast before, but it was just really interesting. I thought it was a good book. I would recommend, if you're interested in the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, you could ask me what book it is and I'll could actually reference the real title rather than just saying the name of the ship over and over again. But
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Definitely controversy over how exactly it sank, though.
So what is
different organizations want to attribute it to different things where it's split in half, but there's definitely a lot of controversy of whether it split in half and then sank, or if it sank and then split in half. Yeah. Like if it sank because it split in half, sort of, or and I don't remember the reasoning exactly why, but there's particular organizations that want to say that it did not. It's in their interest to say that it did not split in half first, and I can't really remember why that was the story they were sticking to.
How long did it take them to actually find it after it sunk?
A long time to like really pinpoint
actually,
it.
Years, a long time?
Well, like they knew generally where it was, but it was like maybe almost a year until they actually got like to the site and like, yep, here it is for sure. And then there was maybe 3 or 4 submarine dives that went down to check it out.
Interesting. So are pieces of it still down there, or have they taken it all out?
I think it's all down there.
Oh, it is. Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's all there.
Pieces are.
You'd have to read the book to really know
you'd
more,
have to be there to really get
it. Yeah, that's true. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead. So, yeah, they're still there.
No, she don't.
What do you got? Something about that was my Hockey Tunes thing then. You had a couple interesting topics in here.
Got one.
I was curious about.
I wrote down a little something here called mechanic, and if you listen to the show,
are we talking about Dan Mackey?
Not this time. If you listen to the show a while, I have an old saying, and it's wrench every day, baby. And I'm just always wrenching away on things.
And that's what we've always said.
That's just what I've always done. It's just Tommy's out there wrenching away.
It's been in your blood.
I don't even know what he's wrenching on. He's just always working on something. Well, I've been
turning wrenches.
I've been really working on the old Malibu lately, and
really
keeping her roadworthy on here on my own.
Did you put on some of those light up valve stem covers?
Not yet. That might be on the list, but we'll see what we can get to.
Those would really spice it up.
So I actually had, I think I told you this when I was going to drive to Aberdeen. I hopped in the Malibu. This was 2 weeks ago, and my check engine light came on. And
yeah, that's right. Yep.
Talking about a Malibu here, the check engine light does not come on. I have 110,000 miles on it. Like that it just runs. Nothing slows it down. So that was
what they say about a Malibu: runs like a deer. Nothing runs like a deer.
That's what they always say about them. And so I was a little concerned, and I actually wouldn't be concerned at all, but I thought, before I go on like a 400 plus round trip in the winter in January, like maybe I should see if something's going on here. So I thought maybe it needs to warm up, get some gas in it, So I took it down to the gas station, drove a little bit. The light was still on, and I thought, I'm going to be responsible and not risk this. So I took my wife's Tahoe, and through that time, been driving the car, and it seems to drive fine, but there is a check engine light on, which is annoying. And so thought, we'll see what we got going on here. So the first thing I did is I went on Amazon and bought one of the cheap, like $30
like $30
computers, for your car. So that shows up, and I hook it up to it, and it gives me a code. And look up the code online, and people are saying, the first thing I see, because of course there's forums, for any car,
Right.
any make model.
Of course, the
Malibu forums are hot. Like that's where action's going down. There's a lot of action in there. And so I go into the Malibu forums, and immediately the thing that I'm finding are people like, oh, this is the easiest fix you can ever do. Fix it in 5 minutes in the parking lot at AutoZone. Another guy.
The trick is you just take the check engine light bulb out of your dash, and then
you just you just turn the computer on and you hit clear the code and you're done. So I'm like, well, these are people that know what they're talking about. I'm not going to mess with this. And then I thought about it a little more. I'm like, I better check YouTube. I'll be the judge of how easy this is. And I check YouTube, and this part, it was like, I can't even remember actually what it was called now. It was some fuel valve something. Okay. And this part is directly on top in the back of the engine. I mean, it almost couldn't be any easier to get to. And I'm watching the video of the guy do it. And I'm like, yeah, that actually was 5 minutes. There's only one bolt you have to remove. After that, it's just clips. It's 3 clips to pop this piece off.
Yep.
So then I check AutoZone. There's 4 AutoZones in town. Only one of them had the part. I drive to AutoZone. I get the part, go home, pop the things off, boom, 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 put it on. It's like a brand new car, baby. It's all good.
Did the check engine light go out?
Well, I think it doesn't turn off on its own. I had to clear it, but it does run.
Oh, right.
Because it did.
It hasn't come back on, but then the Teslas doesn't.
Yeah, and it hasn't came back on. And what everyone said is your car will idle a little rough when that part isn't working correctly. And my car was. It was idling a little rough. And so after I did that, it's all good. So, yeah, pretty much a car mechanic over here. The other thing is my hood, the strut to open my hood in the last month or two has, I'm sure after being 15 years old, like the gas pressure or whatever in it has gone away. So then I ordered a strut to replace that so my hood can actually stay open.
Oh,
and got that. And of course I ordered the one for the trunk deck, not for the hood.
Rookie mistake.
Yep. Got the piece and I'm like, God,
Seen
this
it
just
1,000
seems
times.
way too small, but I ordered the right thing. I know I did. And I went out there and sized it up, and yep, it was definitely for the trunk and not for the hood. So that one is next on the list.
Well, we basically are click and clack at this point, aren't we?
Well, and I replaced the battery in it about a month ago too. So it's basically a new car.
Was the old battery? Well, I mean, did it need a new one? Like, was she cranking hard, slow?
No, but I always keep it in the garage, so it's never really in temps under 40. And the battery, the last I know I replaced it. It was when I lived in my old house and I still had roommates, and that was at least 7 years ago.
Well, that's a pretty good run.
Maybe 8 or 9 even. Yeah. So that's what my dad's like. Oh, I think once you get 5, I consider that borrowed time. You got to replace that thing.
Yeah, you're definitely on borrowed time.
So that's why
Where did you get what brand of battery?
Oh my God. Don't even get me started here. I go to O'Reilly's because it's the closest thing to my house.
O'Reilly.
They charge way too much for a car battery.
Yeah,
way too much.
Like $150 or something like that? Or
More.
$180?
More.
It wasn't $200.
It was like $192.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah.
And then I look and you can get the exact same battery, an interstate battery from Costco for like $110. I'm like, God. Last time I go to O'Reilly's, they're so expensive there. But to be fair, the last one I got was from O'Reilly's and it lasted like 8 years. So maybe there's something to it.
That's true. You got a 10-year battery out of them.
So that's my car mechanic talk.
Car talk on the Massenomics podcast. We haven't had much good car talk for a while.
I know. Just not enough exciting things happening in the car world.
No.
I actually thought about, I was thinking about this a week or two ago, and now I think I'm going to sit on the sidelines again. I was like, you know what? I've never done real in-person shopping for a car. I've always just, actually not that I've done that. I've only bought a couple of cars my entire life. So I'm like, this time I live in a town with all the dealerships. I'm just going to take my time, go to a dealership a weekend, test all these cars out. And then I thought about it a little more. I'm like, I don't have the time to do that.
also the Malibu's like brand new now.
That was actually what changed my mind. I'm like, well, I fixed my car. The check engine light's gone. I got a new car. I don't even got anything to worry about anymore.
You have no use for that now at this point.
Yep, there's no point in me even bothering.
This week's episode. Actually, should I do supporting members?
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't really prepare any supporting members this week. Let me see if anyone said anything in this channel that no one uses.
Oh, it's very, very targeted talk in there, so I'm sure you'll find something no problem. I believe a little follow up to Grayson's track achievements. Big Hannah made it sound like maybe she had some track achievements as well.
She might just be making that up in order to get herself on supporting our supporting members. So I took
the bait.
Yeah, I need to verify that first. Not anyone can just randomly say they did something. Mm-hmm. Like I have to see the official track and field record book first before you actually make it into supporting our supporting members.
That's right.
Yeah, Big Keith here. He said, Big Megan Johnson was on this week's episode of Unpaid and Underrated. Massenomics gym member. Go check that out and give that a listen. Western Northeast South Dakota native. Tattoo artist. And all right, they told the supporting our supporting member segment will be the joke that they told on I don't know if have I told you the Megan joke before? Megan's visually impaired.
Yeah.
And she laughs at this joke also, so it's fair to tell on here. But one of the guys at the gym that likes to razz some of the other guys about not showing up. That's a common thing that comes up. So I think I've told you this joke.
Yes.
So for all the listeners that haven't heard it on Unpaid and Underrated where they talked about it, but we've got Massenomics Gym at times is a little bit of an old boys club where people are like giving each other a little hell from time to time.
At times.
Giving people some shit about stuff. And classic thing is someone hasn't been into the gym for a while. You kind of make fun of them for that. Like, oh, what do you found
for
your
a
way in
while,
here
that
finally,
could mean actually like less than a week, even if just cross paths with someone.
And it could just be because you're going at different times. Like the classic thing is to make fun of someone for not showing up, but it's just because they go at a slightly different time than you.
It was the time where you weren't there.
Them.
Yes, that's
so it's like they can't be there. But the joke, like to pick on someone, you say, well, the visually impaired girl or the blind girl finds her way to the gym every day, but you can't make it to the gym. And I always get a kick out of that. That wasn't original to me, but I do get it. That was a Big J original, I think. But
it does seem like a Big J one, and I can see him using that every single time.
Yes. So go give Unpaid and Underrated a listen, and also just consider becoming a supporting member. Honestly, it's the best way that you can support us. I mean, you can buy stuff like from our drop that we talked about, license plate, T-shirt, buy a drink spotter. Buy Richardson 112 Massenomics fully embroidered patch hat. Any of that stuff, you can buy all that. But please consider becoming a supporting member. If you listen every week or a lot of weeks and you enjoy it, we would love to have you become one. It's probably the thing that helps us out the most. So you can do that by heading over to massenomics.com/join. And this week's episode is also brought to you by our fine friends over at Juggernaut AI. Juggernaut AI is the training that we use, that many use. There was another guy, Big Matt at the gym, or one of the Big Mats at the gym just said he just joined. He just today came in and said, I finally hopped on the Juggernaut AI train. So there's always, nice. I'm always hearing more people trying it out. Tommy's using it now. Tommy, how's it going on Juggernaut AI?
It's going really good, actually. I'm so sore this week, and I'm like, I don't remember being this sore off of because I just wrapped up. So 2 weeks ago was RP10. This past week was a deload. Back at it this week, and normally I don't really get that sore coming back. But then when I thought about it, when I think of squatting, 2 weeks ago at the gym, worked up to a heavy set of 4, and I only did one. I cut one of my back down sets off, so I only did that day actually 8 working reps. And then last week on my deload was pretty light. It was only maybe, I think it was like 2 sets of 4, 2 sets of 5, something like that. And then this block for Juggernaut, it has bumped up my volume. And so I did 5 sets of 5 yesterday. And that volume kind of kicked my ass out of nowhere. So I'm feeling that a little bit today.
Yeah, so and will this be a 4-week strength block that you just started then?
4-week strength block here. This actually might be my last one. I might start.
Yeah, and then you go into a peak, a deload, and then a peak.
I believe I do, which is going to be
for a testing,
which is going to be interesting with the travels we have ahead of us. Oh no, I actually have 2.
2 strength blocks.
Yep, I have 2 strength blocks left and then a 4-week peak. So yeah, my peak isn't until
so you've got a little while.
Oh yeah, April 12th. I got a lot of time.
Yeah, that's perfect. We'll only be on at least 3 long Massenomics trips in between now and then.
All right, nothing to work around at all. It'll be super easy. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes. Actually, and that is true. We'll be on 3 cross-country trips just between now and then. A couple of them you know about. Third one's a bit of a surprise at this point. We won't let the cat out of the bag yet, but
yeah,
we're hitting up most corners of the U.S. here within the first 3 months of the year.
Mm-hmm. There is gonna be a lot going on. It's like
everything going on.
Was really busy, kind of running 2 businesses and trying to do this workout program and have kids and a wife. And now it's also like travel every other week almost. It's I got nothing but time. Let's do it.
We'll sleep when we're dead.
Oh man. Yeah.
You can always sleep when you're dead, I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always say if I can't get it up for just 1 set, you might as well start throwing the dirt on me now.
Just start scooping the dirt on my old body now if I can't get it up for at least 1 more set. So, which leads me back to this. When you go to juggernautai.app, sign in through the web browser, get signed up, and use discount code Massenomics. It'll save you 10% for the lifetime of your membership. It ends up being about $30 a month. So try it out and hit some PRs like Tommy does.
I will say, so now to follow up on that training piece, the temperature in the garage, normally.
Yes.
So because it has been so damn cold lately, I usually, this is how it goes for me. I eat lunch, take the dog for a walk, come back in, and depending on what time, it's usually somewhere between 1 and 1:30 when I get back from my walk. And so then I'll usually turn the garage heater on with the idea that, okay, I'm going to be out there 3:30ish, something like that. So it'll run for like 2 hours. And on a day like today, when the weather's more tolerable, I don't know, what was it, like 30 today, maybe 25? I think it was 25, something like that.
Yeah, today was not bad.
Yeah, when I went out,
it was damn near balmy.
It actually felt like it. I was so bundled up, and I went out there. I'm like, oh, this is nice weather.
Right.
But when I went out into my garage, it was, and I don't leave the heater running all the time. I only turn it on when I'm out there. When I went out in my garage, it was like 45 out there, 46. I turned the heater on. It ran for like 2 hours, and when I went out to go lift, it was like 62 out there. And so you're out there for that. It's any warmer than that, you actually get warm. If you're going out with any type of sweatpants or anything on, very quickly you start losing layers. But when it was super cold the other day,
how was that going?
The garage was right around 29, 30, somewhere around there. And that's like the first time
went out.
Actually, when I went out in the garage, like that was the first time since I started paying attention that I've ever seen it below freezing in there. And it was also super windy too. So it wasn't even, the wind was just
it's not the cold that gets you, it's the wind.
It's that damn wind. Yeah, but the cold's not bad at all. It's just the wind.
It's not the negative 15 that gets you, it's the wind.
So that day I turned the heater on at like 11:30 or noon, just thinking, okay, it's probably going to struggle to keep up with this.
Yeah.
And by the time I went out to lift, it had been like 4 hours. I let it run. And by the time I went out to lift, it was showing like 48-ish.
Okay,
and it just felt...
So it had come up.
Yeah, it had come up. And for me, once it's over
something.
50,
you're good.
I don't even care at all. But man, it was something... I think it was some... And my garage is insulated well, but I think it's just the way that wind is whipping through that the heat does not want to stay in there.
Yeah.
And by the time my workout was done, I think I got up to like 53, 54, something like that. But man, when I had a top set on squats of like 415 or 425, something like, or it was 405. 405 was my top set.
Yeah.
And even getting warmed up, I'm like, I feel like everything just hurts. I can't get warmed up. And putting my knee sleeves on was a pain in the ass. Everything was way too cold. It was tough. But after my top set, my squats actually felt really good after that. So
have you tried wearing those fingerless gloves to help keep your hands warm?
That's actually not really for me. I've noticed at least on squat, the bar temperature, actually none of them, the bar temperature is never a problem. Like once you grip the bar a few times, it seems like your body puts enough heat into it that you don't even really have to worry about it. But I did, in case anyone was wondering, I did make sure to file off all that pokey stuff on the bars so that if I do wear my gloves,
that's what I was going to say. You get get some like a metal file and shave down that pokey stuff so it doesn't bother your hands.
Yeah,
like
I'm
if you got
being
sensitive
proactive
fingers.
here. I'm not being reckless about this whole thing.
Okay. So it's only going to be a problem with the extreme cold.
Yeah.
Like
So far the
like
test.
the few days of the year when it's like the feels like outside is like -25, then it's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I guess
outside of that,
if we're going to
so-
say the long-term follow-up of now having this electric, what did I say? It was like a 400-watt electric heater or something like that, or God, no, it's more than 400 watts.
I don't know. You're a mechanic, not an electrician.
Yeah, come on. How many things can one guy know? Maybe it's a 4.8 kilowatt hour. Maybe that's what it was, a 4.8 kilowatt hour. I don't even remember anymore. Electric heater. It went in November. I would say November through December, it served me perfectly well. Every time I go out, the garage is above 50, which is totally acceptable, totally good. In December, year over year, my electric bill was up like $20. So for that, also totally good.
No
I
big deal.
can live with a $20 increase for the
Right.
comfort that it brings. Like that was totally worth it. Yeah, the downfalls would be the extreme cold. It can fight a little bit to keep up. And this, we're talking a well-insulated garage, no windows or anything to worry about draftiness there. But it was, that's where it suffers, is the very coldest days. But as of recording right now, it is January 22nd. I mean, we can have some cold days ahead, but the days of like -30, there's just not that many of them left out there, especially when the 10-day forecast is showing like 30s and 40s.
If we were like a couple states farther south, a heater like that would probably never not keep up.
I think you'd be set year round easy with just an
Right.
electric heater.
Yeah. Heater follow-up. I knew we'd get to it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of getting things to eventually, should we do a little title topic action?
Yes. Do we want the
I think
listeners
we're
on
due
for
for a
this
title.
one, or?
Oh, I am so sick of these live listeners.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was thinking it, but I wasn't gonna say it.
I can just see them looking over our. I can feel them breathing down our necks.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to just give them the boot.
Okay.
I think we got to give them something to look forward to for this when this recording comes out.
Oh,
yeah, they didn't get to hear the no mommy this week though.
no, mommy, no.
This is what all the live listeners are thinking right now. Oh, not that. That's what they feel like when you're kicking them out of the live. Like, no, mommy. Why do you have to
Look
hit
at
me like
me.
that, mommy?
I'm the mommy now. All right.
So this is the title topic, though. Should I hit him with it?
Hit
then?
him with it. And we're going to hit you
All
like
right.
that this week. All right. Some people don't know this, but Tanner and I, we got a little idea log that we keep ideas in for just unknowing amounts of time. And this week seemed like a good idea to bring an idea out of the vault that has never been out. We went and grabbed it. Tanner, what was the date? Let's see.
Yeah, how old was this original idea from?
This original idea was created February 7th, 2019. So in like 2 weeks, this idea is officially 6 years old, which is...
And we said, this is the week that we're finally going to make this
Moral
idea
of the
come
story,
true.
if you got an idea for anything, write it down. You never know in 6 years when you might want to take advantage of that.
So didn't someone ask what was the oldest idea we had in there? Well, that one's pretty old.
When we wrote that down, we're like, you know what? We're definitely going to record an episode every week for the next 6 weeks. So we have 300 and some weeks to get to this. Why do we need to rush it?
When we wrote that down, I was like barely into my 30s.
When we wrote that down, I wasn't 30 yet. Yeah. That's really funny. Wow. 2019. The world was just so different then.
Oh, man. Nothing had even gone on yet in 2019.
Everyone was just staying safe and being good.
I'm staying safe, yeah.
All right. So the idea. All right. We ready for today's title topic?
Yeah, what is...
Today's title topic is people you thought were jacked when you were younger.
And were they really? Maybe they weren't.
And
Probably
what was
they
so
weren't.
funny about this idea is I had these people, these guys in my head, these figures, and I went back and looked, and yep, we already had them all written down. Even like we had already done the work; it was all there. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna run through. We have a few people that you thought they were jacked when you were younger, and maybe looking back, maybe this is part of Instagram ruining our brains, being paying attention to the fitness industry as the years have gone on. Maybe our perception of what's jacked has changed.
For sure.
The field goal has moved as this time has gone on. And so we're going to dig into this and see, were these people really jacked, or did we just not know any better then?
Right. So we'll just run down the list one by one and see what we.
Yeah, we got a list. And then maybe at the end we'll hit them with a few people that actually, when we went back and did our research, these people actually are pretty jacked. We'll give them a few bonus people at the end here.
Right. So, do you want to pick one first?
I'm going to go with this one. This first one right here. I remember, because all of these involve some memory from some point in your childhood or adolescence or something. I remember thinking Brad Pitt in Fight Club was just jacked out of his mind. Now, I was probably, when I watched this movie, probably like a sophomore in high school. Yeah, about that. So what's that? 14, 15. If you Google Brad Pitt Fight Club, there's the picture of him, when they're in the Fight Club, he's got his shirt off. And he's just looking back now, and he's got the cigarette in his mouth. Looking back now, it's like, you're in good shape, but you're just really lean, and you kind of have biceps. Like, he has visible abs, but no pecs or anything. Like, he's just really, really lean is what he is.
Well, did you see? I looked up Brad Pitt height and weight for Fight Club.
Yeah. Okay. Is that what that actually was?
Yeah. No, I looked up if in Fight Club what was his, and this is the internet, so everything's a little subject to being correct or not. 5'11", which is a good solid height. 155 pounds.
That is so skinny. That was me. That actually was me like my sophomore year of high school. I was about 5'11", 155 then. So
yeah,
I can relate. That is skinny, Terry. That is very skinny at that height, especially. But yeah, looking back, this is one that I always thought. I remember that scene being like, oh man, that guy's really jacked. He's really ripped. And then you look back and like, no, you're just a really lean. I would use the term wiry. You're just kind of a wiry guy at that point.
Yeah. When you listen along with this, you'll probably just have to like look up images of people too as it goes.
We can only paint so many word pictures of men's physiques.
We're gonna do our best to paint. We're gonna use our brushes to paint some pretty descriptive.
This is going to be
bodies
a
for
very exciting
male body,
canvas and brushwork going on here.
Okay, and all these ones are different, varying levels of like. I guess after each one we should recap. Like, okay, so he definitely wasn't big.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. He definitely wasn't big. He was lean and in really good shape, but he wasn't big at all.
Right, at all.
No.
Like, not even at all. Like, barely even, like, not necessarily muscular.
If he had clothes
very
on,
lean.
which he did wear clothes in that movie, but if you walked by him with clothes on, you would just think he's a regular-ass dude. You'd
be like, he's a pretty skinny regular dude, even.
Actually,
like, where you're like...
When he's got his little leather jacket on with the collar and everything, yeah, he just looks like a regular dude.
Okay, I think this would be a very commonly thought of as... I mean, I think this one has been busted probably well over in a lot of people's minds since then, but classically Vin Diesel, kind of, and his is part of his attitude, I think, is like comes off as he's a tough guy actor.
Mm-hmm. Maybe doesn't say a lot, kind of the strong silent type as far as that goes.
Right. And you don't have to necessarily be big and strong to be a tough guy, but he kind of had this image as being a big, strong guy, I think, too, right?
That's what when I was younger, the first Fast and the Furious movie, I watched that thing like 1,000 times. That was, I don't know, probably Vin Diesel's first like big role or his breakout role. And I remember thinking like, yep, he's the big boss guy. He is tough and scary.
And my reference is look up the cover for Triple X, the movie.
Oh, and that felt like that was the pinnacle of people trying to make him
huge. Like they show his back and his arm, and I'm like, he looks like he has an
like
arm
the poster
of,
here. Yeah, they're like
the poster. It looks like he's Jay Cutler.
He's
You
got,
know,
yeah,
I'm
this
like, he looks like his
massive
tricep is just like,
yeah, and his delta.
I mean, he looks like a guy that would rep out 495 on the bench press.
He does. And then when you go to stills from the movie, doesn't really look like that as much.
No. But so here's what I got for stat on Vin Diesel: 6 foot 225. So he's not tiny.
That's
or,
actually
he's
bigger than I would have ever guessed.
Yeah. So he's that's not. It's not 5'11", 155. Like, that is a small person. Vin Diesel is not a small person, but they did a good job making him seem bigger than he ever really was, though, with some of the stuff they did, I'd say.
For sure. And I'm looking through these pictures now. You just gotta type in Vin Diesel XXX and just go through the Google images. And this isn't really hitting me until right now, that now when guys are in superhero movies and all that, they have been like on some stuff to get to that point,
right,
you know?
Right.
And here he just looks like, I don't know, like you don't have these crazy defined abs and like just massive, you're not at a sub 10% body fat with just bulging muscles. But also, like, he does look like he kind of lifts, you know?
Yeah.
He's not like a slob or anything.
No. So I would say early Vin Diesel, he still gets some credit as someone that could have probably lifted a weight or two, you know? Like,
he definitely lifted some
I'm not
weights.
completely throwing him under the bus in this game, that it's like, oh, he wasn't big.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll put him
Like,
on the line of, looking back now, I can see how at that time you would think he was this really big guy.
I think in real life now, he's just in less good shape. He's how old is friggin' Vin Diesel? You know, he's not right.
He's got to be like
so
50,
it's easier to look
he?
at him now and be like, nah, now you kind of just look like you're out of shape maybe. But yeah, he's probably still in pretty good shape for his age, even, actually, you know. All right, who do we got next on the list?
Next on the list, we're gonna go. All right, we're gonna change up the genres a little bit. There's a cult classic movie called Heavyweights. We've referenced it many times on this show. You know, it's given us such great lines as "Get these salamis off my back."
Chipmunks, download.
Chipmunks, download. Get over here, you devil log. You know, things like that. Do it to it, Lars. And that leads us to this next guy, Lars from
Get off the
Heavyweights.
scale.
Lars was one of the, do you want to say henchman of Ben Stiller's character? He was one of the
primary one.
He was one of the trainers at the fat camp. And he was, I feel like they framed him as kind of like the European,
I did a little research. It's funny. They say it's ambiguous as to where Lars is even from, because they never.
but
it's assumed
accent.
he may have been like German or Dutch or like.
It's something German. It kind of seems like for Lars. Yeah, he has this accent, the way he speaks, and he's like this European muscle coming in. And now when you go back and look, you're kind of just like a. I think my brother Ryan said this to me. He goes, when you go back and watch the movie, you're not even sure if he's big or if he just has good posture when you look at him. Like, he's just always standing very upright, but he never actually seems that jacked at any point. But in the movie, I feel like he's supposed to come off as the most jacked guy in all of the fat camp.
Yeah, and what I'd say about him as I look at the pictures from the movie, I wouldn't know for sure if he's a guy that works out at all or a guy that's fairly young and just kind of naturally like not
that's
fat
just how his
and,
body
like,
is.
Yeah, that's just what his body looks like, where you're like, well, you don't look out of shape, you don't particularly look like he probably, you'd say he could probably put 225 on the bench and hit it for a single or something.
I could see that. Yeah.
Like without even going to the gym. It seems like a guy that wouldn't go to the gym and he could probably bench like 225 really poorly for one.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
Butt comes off the bench, really heaves it,
Right.
but he did do it. Yeah.
But he probably like played a couple sports in high school, that sort of thing. Like that's what he looks like,
and just has kind of good genetics, but isn't actually doing anything with it.
Right. Not big though, like not even a little. Like there's not a muscle on his body that looks like it's particularly big or defined, even, just
no. It's the whole thing. He just has a tank top on and has good posture, I guess.
yeah.
So
And Lars was 6 foot tall, played by Tom Hodges.
6 foot tall is all the tall.
Yeah.
God, I just assumed he was bigger than that too.
Okay. We have one in a similar vein to that. I'm not going to go to that. I'm going to shift again, and maybe this will. We'll see if we can find one that'll ruffle some listener feathers. I'm going to say Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy, particularly as Bane in Dark Knight, and so everyone's seen that movie. There's probably nobody listening to this that hasn't seen.
Actually, is it funny
what is Dark Knight Returns? I guess actually,
is
right?
it funny
Dark
to
Knight
think?
Returns
Okay, if you're a woman, I 100% give you a pass for not watching Batman. But it's really funny to think, especially if you're around our age, they'd be like, "No, just never saw it."
If you are, tell me if you've never seen Dark Knight or Dark Knight Returns. I could see if you say if you never saw whatever Dark Knight Begins, the first one in the trilogy.
Yeah, a lot of people.
It is not as good as the. I mean, I feel like you have to watch all three to appreciate all of them more,
I agree.
But,
I agree. This one came out when I was in college. I had friends that they would watch this movie. I'm not lying. Every day, they would just watch this movie every day. Like it would at some point in the day, they would turn it on. Sometimes they'd seriously sit down and watch it. Sometimes it was the background noise. But I can name people that they watch this movie every day. That was how impactful
I don't even
it was.
blame them for doing that. I don't even think that's unreasonable to watch this movie every day. When you were, if this came out when you were like in your early 20s and you were a guy, it's not inappropriate to have watched this every.
It was a
single
game
day.
changer, though. This movie was for so many people. It was just like, what?
I mean, the prior movie is, I mean, to me is still better, but this movie is also like really good, I think.
Yeah.
But so Tom Hardy, height and weight as he played Bane. This is kind of shot because if you have a mental image of Bane, even Tom Hardy as Bane, like he's like pretty big, you think, right? Like
I remember reading
jacked.
Okay, say the stats. What was his numbers here?
Tom Hardy as Bane, 5'9", which is not is not a short king or anything like that, but it's not an imposing height. First of all,
yeah,
to anyone unless you're 5'3", 5'9", 185 pounds.
See,
Which, if you're like a high school wrestler, you're probably like a really good high school wrestler at 5'9", 185. And like
that's the ideal
that
body type for
But I'm
that
also
weight.
talking like a high school wrestler, not like one of the most badass super villains of all time.
Okay, I remember reading, and maybe because there's another one. Tom Hardy. Did you ever see the movie Bronson?
No.
So he's kind of just like Bane without the mask on. He's this.
Okay.
It's a story about is he like a prisoner in Great Britain, I believe. It's like based on a true story. But for that one, he kind of has if you Google the picture, kind of the like burly, he's got the shaved head and sort of the prison fitness physique thing going on. And I could have swore for one of these, maybe it was that one, that he weighed like 200 or 210 or something like that. And this was before I had kind of, at this point, was kind of going to the gym, but had not taken anything too seriously yet. And we're thinking, man, like seeing Tom Hardy, let's just say he weighs around 200 pounds, being like, oh my God, if I was that big, I would just, at 6'1", 200, I would be an animal. And just that seems so insane to me. And on the other side of it, I can confirm I am not an animal at 6'1", 215. I just feel like a regular dude.
And I would say, Brad Pitt, for example, you talked about how lean he was, which he is extremely lean. It's like his body fat was freaking low, like in Fight Club and stuff. Tom Hardy's body at 185, his body fat's not even, I mean, it looks like he's like, I don't know, 18% body fat, like.
Yeah, it's a bulky look for sure. It's not lean at all.
So I'm saying, so you're 185 and not lean.
And not overly muscular either. But to be fair, God, the way they shoot him in the movie, he just seems like the most jack guy ever. But then you look at some of these stills, and you're like, oh, I mean, you look like you work out.
Definitely looks like you can definitely see some delts, some pecs, and some biceps. Like he definitely looks like he works out for sure.
But it's not this larger than life image you have in your head going back. It's almost like ruining it for me looking at some of this, honestly.
Well, it kind of doesn't depict Bane fairly because, so here's the thing. I just had to look up Bane, Bane outside of this movie, prior to this movie. In the Batman comics and movies, Bane is depicted as a very large and muscular man, known for his imposing size and strength, often enhanced by a special venom that further increases his physical capabilities, making him one of Batman's most physically formidable foes. According to the Essential Batman Encyclopedia, circa 2008, Bane is 6'1" and 325 pounds of pure muscle when not on venom. So 6'1", 325 of muscle would be an enormous man. Like that. Then you're talking about like people that you walk by at the Arnold and you're like, oh my God, is that, you'd be like, is that Ronnie Coleman?
Yeah.
Or, is that
or you do strongman obviously, but you just weren't gifted with being 6'5", but otherwise you are enormous.
It's like, oh, you're Mitch Hooper at that point.
Actually,
or Martins Lisas.
You just don't have the height, but you have the size.
Right.
But that is big. You're right.
They might be like 6'3", but 6'1", 325 of pure muscle would be an enormous. I mean, he's freaking enormous. To quote Greg Doucette, that would be enormous.
Yeah, get Greg on the horn.
I mean, Greg probably also thinks Tom Hardy at 5'9", 185 is enormous.
Is bigger than 99% of the population. So by default, he is enormous.
But Hollywood is pretty good at doing that, though, too. I mean, they're obviously because when you watch the movie, you don't really get the feeling that he's. You get the feeling that he's weighs more than 185. Like you feel like I feel like my feeling when I watch that is I'm watching a 250-pound man.
Yes, he feels much larger when you in every way when you're watching that.
He feels like no less than a 250-pound man. Honestly, like I'd say, he feels like between a 240 and 280-pound man when I watch that character. But he's 185, which is kind of wild. At least that's what it said on the internet. It's probably wrong, so I ranted about 185. It's not even right. Someone will be like, you dumb bastards, he was 205.
This so then I had to look for comparison because they make him seem like bigger than Batman, right? Like
which they have to because he's. I mean, it says everything. Like anyone that's a Batman fan, they're like, oh yeah, Bane is this enormously like the most physical, imposing character in the world.
It said for Batman Begins, Christian Bale was initially 220, but then it said Christopher Nolan had him cut down to 190 for the next two movies.
Okay.
Again, I'm not sure how you actually verify that, but
right. So overall, was Tom Hardy big, or what's the final? You thought he was big. Was he big? He definitely looked like he lifted, like we said, though. Like there was no doubt he was doing some lifting.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he lifted. I think this one is maybe a bigger deception of how big he actually was in comparison to the size depicted compared to what he actually was is maybe this might have the most discrepancy on it.
That's true. I think that you're right. That's a good way of putting it.
Because if you were to tell me to guess those numbers, I'd have been like, he was probably at least 6 foot, probably even more, and like 220 at least. That's the way it comes off in the movie.
It's a different thing than Lars. If you go back and watch Heavyweights, you're like, oh, Lars wasn't big. He doesn't even look big. Mm-hmm. Like in hindsight, it's just like he never even was big. With the Bane Tom Hardy character, you watch the movie still and you're like, oh yeah, it looks pretty big, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, no, there's some trickery going on. Who do we got next?
Next on the list. Okay. I'll go with internet legend Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Not actually that big of a guy, Memes aside, and I'll be the first to say I haven't seen a whole lot of Chuck Norris's work in my life. Tanner, are you very familiar with many of his pieces?
I mean, Walker, Texas Ranger, of course.
Not even that. I don't even know if I've seen a full episode of that in my entire life.
Well, I've never seen a full episode, but I've absolutely seen it on TV before. Like it used to be on TV all the time when I was little.
Yeah.
I never watched. I never liked it. It was never never in my life been a show that I would have chosen to have watched.
I'm right
or
there with you.
I wouldn't have choose to watch, even if that made sense.
But they did definitely present him as, the kind of an action hero, kung fu, like badass, kind of beat you up kind of guy. And I mean, he has the Total Gym to his name. So
I was just going to say, the Total Gym kind of adds to the whole thing, right?
Definitely. Like that is part of it, is that, also this fitness guru, because he has this Pilates board thing with a cable system on it or whatever.
Also, if you look at him and all the marketing images of the Total Gym, He doesn't look remotely big in any of them.
It just looks like now, especially, I'm just looking at this now, the most 90s middle-aged dad possible. Like, doesn't
really.
If you're like,
look
oh,
like
this guy
someone that-
doesn't, if you didn't know he's Chuck Norris, you're like, this guy doesn't lift, but we're going to have him come try the total gym. You'd be like, well, yeah, obviously. Obviously this person's new to fitness. Actually might be the more shocking
he
one.
might bench 185 for a double.
Yeah, that'd be about the upper limits of that.
Like that's, I don't know, maybe it's more or less than that, but that's just what I feel. Like if I'm just looking at that guy and he walked into the gym and you're just making assumptions based purely on your first impression, that's kind of what I would think.
I think you're right.
I don't know if I ever actually thought that Chuck Norris was big though. Like,
yeah, but
he's more of just a meme.
He is more of a meme, but he did kind of have the fitness.
Right.
I don't want to say fitness icon. He definitely wasn't that. But there was a point in time where Chuck Norris's name was associated with the total gym and like working out. Absolutely.
Right.
And looking back, that might have been a stretch.
You could find a couple pictures of him where he was lean though. Like if you just type in Chuck Norris jacked, there's a couple of older oiled up pictures where he's like holding a set of dumbbells.
I see those here.
Where he's at least as lean.
Yeah.
Like there's pictures where he definitely was in shape.
Something
I'm
about
also
him
seeing
having
a lot
the
of like
exact,
fake generated pictures.
yeah, a lot of
that,
those
like,
too.
throw
Something about
you
him
off.
having the exact same haircut and facial hair for like 50 years makes it really confusing. Is this Chuck Norris from like 1960 or is this Chuck Norris from 2000? I can't even hardly tell.
Right.
Because there's also photos of him where he is not in shape at all. Just looks like the most regular dude ever with a lot of hair on his chest.
No, it looks like for a couple photo shoots, they got him actually, like they probably got him to lean down and pulled some water weight out and got some really oiled up pictures where it's like, no, you're at least lean.
I mean, you say a couple
Like, we
photo
can-
shoots. I think it's like one photo shoot. It all
I think
seems to
there
be
is
like-
one photo shoot, actually, yes. I'm like, did Chuck Norris get that reputation of being ripped from one photo shoot?
I think that's all it took back in the day. You just had to trick people once, and
It's
they
like,
remembered
no,
it
we got
forever.
like 2 pictures where you look pretty lean.
Yeah. You're,
Like,
you're
that's-
set for the next 15, 20 years easy here. Don't got to worry about anything.
Yeah. Chuck Norris, did we say this stat? 5'9", 155. So actually kind of 5'9", 155. I'm sure that judging by these pictures, that weight certainly fluctuated at
And
times.
also the meme, if you only know about the meme of Chuck Norris, you probably would think he's a lot bigger, more imposing guy than what he actually is.
Right.
Because, yeah, so many, when you look at the pictures, so many of these are just AI-generated memes of Chuck Norris with the most insane abs and biggest arms ever. And then when you go back and look, you're like, oh, yeah, that's not actually that guy.
No. So Chuck Norris, not big.
Still
I'm
an
gonna say
icon,
he's-
though.
Yeah, an icon, but not big. Like, not even like, he is not in the Vin Diesel or Tom Hardy category of like still like he's not big.
No.
Barely looks like he touched a weight most of the time in most pictures. Okay. This one kind of reminds me actually quite a bit of the Lars one, where it has this feeling when you watch it, you're a little kid and you're like, no, this is the big guy because that's what the show tells me. This show that I watch tells me, and that would be the Bash Brothers from Mighty Ducks, specifically Fulton Reed from D1. Later, it became the Bash Brothers, Fulton Reed and Dean Portman. Dean Portman, I think, was actually a little bigger. I'd have to look at what his height and weight was. But Fulton Reed, as it progresses through the Mighty Ducks, those kids were like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12-year-olds
What
in the
makes
first
this one
movie.
hard is that we're talking about like children now at this point.
Right.
Just about.
But those guys get into high school by the end, and I think what the problem was, that actor he was a little taller than some of the other young actors in D1, and by the end of it, this kid that was supposed to be the big badass one
had
he wasn't even bigger. He wasn't even big anymore. Even relative, like he wasn't even taller than the other kids.
Yeah, he had been passed up.
Right. So Fulton Reed, when you watch it, I'm like, I'm not sure if there's anything about you that in any of them that makes me think you're the big guy.
Oh, he has the trench coat thing on and the bandana. That adds to the...
That was it. That was it. But Dean Portman, am I saying that right? Dean Portman? I'm going to look at a picture and see. I think he was actually, Yeah, there's pictures where those two are together, where it's Dean Portman and Fulton Reed, and I'm like, no, the Dean Portman actor actually looks like a big.
It does,
older
yeah.
guy.
It looks like he has just a bigger frame than the other guy. Just
Right, and then the original one, what did I say his name is now? Fulton Reed looks like a little kid compared to him. Like there's a mismatch there. So Fulton Reed, I'm going to say, was not big.
Not big. Did not pass the test.
I think you have to cover this one because we made this in 2019 because it's funny. It's hilarious to me that it's on here but it's only because we made this in 2019.
This is the most
or 20 we
2019, 2020 person you could ever have on here.
No one will even know who this is.
I don't even know if you wrote this or I wrote this.
I have no idea. Yeah,
I actually first I'm like
I saw out of left field.
It does. I saw the name. I'm like, I don't even know who this is, and then I read the rest of the notes. I'm like, I might know who this is. So the one on here, do not know for sure who put this. We have Travis Maldonado, Tiger King, and this is what is the Tiger King's actual name? Joe Exotic. This is Joe Exotic's gay lover, isn't it? Isn't this the boy he entices to marry him?
Yes, I think so.
And there are some pictures where he kind of almost looks lean, but yeah, I could see he's probably a guy that if he worked out probably could be in. Yeah, probably could get big.
He might have like some shoulders on him or something.
Yeah, but here, I think he's just probably 20, just has 20 leanness going for him, and that's about it.
I just like that one's on there because of when that we had left that one on there for 6 years or whatever it was.
It is Tiger King. It is of an era.
Yeah,
man, what a show.
Okay. Now should we get into our other? We have kind of a different category here, and this is guys that we thought were jacked, and wait a second, it turns out, yeah, they were pretty jacked. And I have my first one is actually more of a tweener, where like this is just like the introduction to this category, and I'm gonna say Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because there are some scenes and stuff where he looked enormous. And there's I remember so many things about, I'm sure Dr. Mike has done a video on like critiquing Wolverine's workout. And I feel like in magazines at the time, there was all the things about like Wolverine's workout and
100%.
all that sort of stuff. And, I actually got to pull up pictures.
Well, this one is the perfect example of how fast things have changed, though. If you look at, there's pictures comparing Hugh Jackman Wolverine in the first Wolverine to like Wolverines from the last few years.
Yeah.
And it's not the same body, man. Like he has.
Right. He's gotten way bigger.
He has leaned out and gotten way more muscular as the first one doesn't even really look like a guy that's supposed, I don't know. You kind of just look like a homeless dude, to be honest, like an ill-tempered homeless man here. I don't know. You got claws or what's going on? And then these later ones, you look like you could straight up kill someone here.
Yeah. And I do, the number I was seeing on him is 6'2", 205. So if you're 6'2", 205 and really lean, I mean, you have to have some muscle on you to, that's like a really lean 6'2", 205 would be someone you see without a shirt off glistening, and you'd be like, okay, you're pretty jacked, I guess.
Yeah, you could look really ripped there.
Right.
I believe there's also a video, this is going way back. I thought I remember seeing a video of Hugh Jackman deadlifting like 500 or maybe it was like 405 for reps, like way back in the day. So definitely had some strength too. Yeah. And here it is right here. Hugh Jackman deadlift workout. What's he doing on YouTube? We got deadlift training 2014. We got 2 reds, a blue, and a different one. So yeah, probably like 405-ish.
So he was moving some weights.
Yeah. Oh, there's multiple videos here of him lifting. Yeah. Oh, he's doing a maneuver that I have not seen pulled too often, Tanner. He's deadlifting. Yeah, he's got 4. The video's cut off on the sides, but it looks like 4 plates. He has the mixed grip deadlift with the straps on. Do you remember that maneuver?
Yeah, classic. I know. Big Shane was a classic mixed grip with straps.
He was the only person I routinely saw do that.
Yeah.
And he always did it.
Someone listening, if you use mixed grip with straps, tell me why.
Or do you know anyone that does? Because that is a rarity.
Yeah.
And you can't say
That
Hugh
always
Jackman.
was
We just said Hugh Jackman and Shane. Those are the only two people on earth that do it.
Yeah. Okay. So Hugh Jackman, yeah, at times, kind of jacked.
Yeah.
All right. Who else do you want to hit on the list?
Okay.
Some of these were like in the Massenomics Discord. We had mentioned we were going to talk about this, and people were throwing some names out here too.
All right. Actually, this is what I had to flip flop on once I actually went back and looked. I just had a feeling because you always think people were bigger when you're looking back on this. I thought the bad guy from Bloodsport, the guy that Jean-Claude Van Damme fights at the end. I don't even know his name. I can't. What is it? I don't know. Not that he's some big famous movie star, but the bad guy at the end of Bloodsport. He's the really jacked one that's beating up Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I'm like, there's no way this guy is big. I actually put him on the list before we even started as guys that you thought were jacks. I'm like, there's no way. And I went back and looked, and he's actually pretty jacked. I was surprised how big this guy is. You looking at this, Tanner?
Yeah, I was pulling it up right now.
Like, he's got a big upper body on him, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he's jacked, right?
Yeah, I think so. He passes the test for me, especially when we're talking more of like a kung fu kind of movie. A lot of those guys were more on the really lean side, but this is he's pretty jacked, actually.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to say Mark McGuire, particularly with the Cardinals in that home run season run with him and Sammy Sosa. When you look pictures of him, his upper body, like his forearms and arms are freaking huge.
They are actually looking through some of these pictures. Yeah, he looks really, I mean, even his lower body, I mean, they got tight pants on, but
actually, yes.
I'm like, dude, you don't have stick legs at all, man. Some of these pictures when he's mid home run swing, it looks like
he absolutely it's like, build me a home run slugger in the lab.
Yeah.
Like, well, we kind of did. Here he is.
And then when
Mark
you're done,
McGuire.
do you want to go be like DN too for like a team?
Right.
Yeah, he looks very large in a lot of these pictures.
Yeah. So Mark McGuire was big. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, there's one
especially a baseball player.
Yes, there's one of him holding up a kid here from behind. Yeah, he looks huge.
Yeah, I don't see the picture. Is it his son? I know his son was the bat boy for the.
I would say it's I don't know. It's a little kid with a bat on the field, so maybe it was.
That was just a regular player. That's what they looked like compared to him.
All the other players look like 10-year-old children.
Yeah,
yeah, he is big. One that I've thought multiple times through the years, was he actually that big? And yes, he is actually that big. Big Papa Pump from WWF.
Yeah,
WWE,
he actually looked like a bodybuilder.
Scott Steiner, he looks very close to a bodybuilder. Some of these pictures, he is enormous.
Yeah,
he's very large. I remember being a kid at the time thinking, those are the biggest arms I've ever seen in my whole life. And to be fair, those probably were the biggest arms I'd ever seen in my whole life at that point.
Yeah, he is huge. Like he is the cartoon where. Like it does in a SpongeBob cartoon where like muscles come out of his muscles, like where you flex and like an extra muscle pops out like on top of your muscle bag. What muscle is that?
Yeah, he would go up and do the double bicep pose, I think, before he got in the ring. And yeah, huge.
Yeah, Mariusz Pudzianowski was of course jacked. And
he
really
was
big and ripped.
Yep,
like one of the most ripped strong men of all time, if not the most.
Pudzianowski was the other one we had on the list, and that's one you can go back and look at. Sometimes now, once you get your mind adjusted to what strong men look like nowadays, you go back and look at some of the other ones. You think, you're actually not that big, because everyone's so huge now.
Right.
But Pudzianowski, yeah, he's not like huge the way some of the guys are, but he's also, his physique is crazy, and it does pass the test of time.
You know, one other one that I'm going to put on an honorable mention from our first half of the discussion is Chris Hemsworth as Thor. This falls into the Bane discussion where Bane is supposed to be enormous. Let me look at this. How big is Thor supposed to be? Because I believe Thor is
Probably huge.
literally like a Norse mythology, very large compared to humans. 6'6" in comics. So I don't know. I'm finding different things, but very large. But Chris Hemsworth as Thor is 6'3", 220. So I'm like,
Really? That big, though?
yeah, which I'm like is not small, but I just it's also the Hollywood thing. Like you're not getting actor. You know, if you look like Batista, then you're typecast into certain roles. Like you're not gonna get to be Thor or whatever how that works. But you know, sometimes when I'm like, well, Thor is supposed to be this larger than a human being character.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should look like half Thor. You know, like that's what Thor is supposed to look like.
I mean, yes.
6'3", 220, not small though either.
No, it's not. I actually was surprised he is supposedly that big because that's,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Hollywood goes, that's like a giant compared to
Right.
a lot of people that you, I mean,
And I guess
if he's
that's why
standing
you get
next to
that
Tom
role
Hardy,
then.
he would
Yeah.
look like a giant, you know?
Right. True.
But yeah, I think that's one of them too, where if you compared the Thor physique through the years, I'm sure that's another one that's just gotten more and more extreme as time has gone on.
Right. Well, yeah. So how much is Thor supposed to weigh? The son of Odin uses his mighty abilities as god of thunder to protect his home Asgard and planet Earth alike. 640 pounds.
a
Is
modest
yeah.
640 pounds. Yes. But yeah, he is pretty jacked. I mean, in a lot of these, actually, depending on where you look at him, some he just looks really lean, but other ones he looks really jacked too.
Right. Okay. Anyone else we need to touch
I actually
on?
have one I forgot to put on the
All right, what
list.
do you got?
People you thought were probably jacked, but turns out, yeah, not really. That would be a lot of the guys from the cast of Jersey Shore. I remember at the time being like, oh yeah, those guys hit the gym. They work out hard.
Yeah.
Mike, the Situation has the whole abs thing. That's like what he's known for. And now when you go back and look, like, yeah, I mean, he had here, if you go Mike, the Situation abs, there's like whole things about it. But now you're like, I don't know. You kind of have abs, I guess.
He had pretty big arms, though.
He did have pretty big arms, and yes, I mean, I shouldn't knock this. They actually were fairly jacked, but I remember at the time it seemed like to me as a guy that wasn't really working out that hard in probably 2010, 11, something when this was on. I remember thinking, oh man, these guys are like really, really built. Like they're like damn near bodybuilders. It's like, well, no, not quite here.
Okay, I did have one more because this one popped up in the Discord earlier, and I wanted to look it up. If anyone that was a Saved by the Bell fan, AC Slater was like king of the school for his like amazing size. What's that actor's name? He's AC Slater.
Yeah, what the hell is his name?
Mario Lopez.
There you go.
How big is Mario Lopez?
I demand to
Not
know.
easily found.
Mario Lopez, how big are you? I must know.
160 pounds, I'm seeing. 5'8", 175.
Okay. Yeah, because
So-
there's pictures of him
5'9".
standing. I'm assuming it's from some Saved by the Bell shoot, like standing with his shirt off, kind of like flexing with his arms crossed. And yeah, I mean, he was a kid, but now it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you do just look like a kid, though.
Right. Yeah.
Were you
All right,
were you
that's
a big Saved by the Bell guy?
I actually didn't like it because my sister liked it, so it meant it was that's what stood between me and watching what I actually wanted to watch.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then I was sour tasted it. I had a sour taste when I was younger than the age of someone that would actually like Saved by the Bell. Then by the time I was old enough to where I would like Saved by the Bell, I was already disgruntled by Saved by the Bell, so I never liked it that well. Although I'm quite positive I've probably seen every single episode. I also don't think like the original show had that many episodes.
Oh,
that because I feel like I feel like there was like far less than maybe I'm completely wrong on that. How many episodes of Saved by the Bell? That's what I want to know.
there was 4 seasons of it.
Okay, 4 seasons. So 86 actually. That's
All
way
right.
more than what I thought.
That's a decent run.
Yeah, no, that's a good run. I wasn't a huge fan for those reasons, but I feel like I've actually seen most of them and I get all the references and stuff. How about you?
I didn't like it. To me, it was similar in the way that it stood between me wanting to watch shows that I actually wanted to watch. You know, it's like, oh, I'd rather be watching cartoons or something that's not this. So I saw some of them, but as a kid, I didn't. That show just didn't hit with me. So I stayed away from it when I could.
I mean, it also premiered in 1989.
Well, that's what I always felt like.
also,
When I was watching TV, I thought those people were way older than me. So that was also why I
Right.
felt like I couldn't relate. I'm like, oh, they're all in high school or whatever. I'm in 4th grade. You know, it's
Right. That was part of my thing too, and that's what I'm saying. By the time I was old enough, I was already like, no, I don't like this. I like Boy Meets World or whatever
I did see for sure more Boy Meets World than Saved by the Bell.
more of a Topanga guy than a Kelly Kapowski. Kelly Kapowski.
See, I can't even remember. They both sound. No, isn't Kelly Kapoor? Isn't that The Office?
Yes.
Isn't that her name on The Office?
Yes, I'm getting very confused. I'm like, what am I saying?
Yeah,
No, that's a
yeah,
thing.
Kelly Kapoor. That is The Office. Yeah. That's good.
All right, that's our list, right?
That's the list. Tell us who we
People
missed.
So yes, in the YouTube comment section, let us know what we got wrong. What did we say that you disagree with? Like, no, that I still believe that person's big. You cannot tell me that.
To be fair, a lot of these people actually are big. It's just the
Right.
image that is printed on screen is so much larger than life
than what they actually are.
Yes.
A few we found literally never were
Brad
big.
Pitt and Fight Club was not actually big.
Yeah. But the better comment would be, who did we miss on the list? Like, who are the glaringly obvious ones that to you in your childhood you made larger than life, and then either you found out they were just portrayed that big or they weren't actually big, or what the outcome is there. So let us know in the YouTube comment section for sure. People that you thought were jacked. Okay. I'm going to hit you with the Strength Co. People that are actually jacked use the Strength Co. plates. That's how you actually get jacked. You know, if you want to be Thor, and the next time that Marvel remakes all these movies all over again, and you want to look like you're 645 pounds, head over to the Strength Co. and buy yourself a full set of Made in America Olympic iron plates. They're black, smooth, e-coated, easy to handle, nice to grip. They're the go-to plates of Massenomics Gym. They're actually quite affordable. They have their lowest shipping prices ever. So check them out at thestrength.co. They're the plates that we use, and we think you should use them too.
This episode is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Right now, if you head on over to texaspowerbars.com and you buy any Texas Power Bar, you can get a free American flag with your order. And Tanner, I'm putting pencil to paper right now. Yep.
Yes.
You cannot afford to not do it. So get on that, people. And you're saying, okay, I'm going to go buy something. What do I buy? Well, here's some recommendations for you right now. All-purpose power bar. Can't go wrong with the classic Texas Power Bar. It's been a legend for years, and there's a reason for it. But maybe you want a little twist on it. My personal favorite is the 29 millimeter Texas Power Bar. It's got aggressive knurling. It's stiff. Go with the black zinc barbell, chrome sleeves. That thing will be a workhouse in your gym for years to come. That thing's amazing. Or maybe you want a specialty bar. Maybe you want to pull some big deadlifts. Any of the Texas deadlift bars. It's basically the go-to bar for meets now that some of the things have changed in the powerlifting scene. So Texas deadlift bar, Texas 29 millimeter power bar, original Texas Power Bar, all great options. There's even more. If you go around, dig in there, you will find lots of good stuff. So thank you, Texas Power Bars.
Imagine thinking this was okay.
Yes. Yes, Tanner.
I'm just here for the comments. I've got this.
Also,
I don't know.
I do got to say, since we've been saying those, all right, I actually did see someone in full seriousness. They don't listen to Massenomics. They don't know nothing about it. But in full seriousness, on their story, it was like yesterday. It was something sassy, and then it says, "Say it louder for the people in the back." And I'm like, maybe I'm just too aware of it now, but like you can't be using that one anymore. It's played out. It's been done. You can't do that anymore. It's off limits.
You can't use that seriously.
Nope,
like,
it's off limits.
That one in particular, almost, where it's like, no, you can't say it louder for the people in the back and not be joking.
But now that the Massenomics people have started to just flood comments sections with all of the sayings, and also in the home gym Discord, sometimes it almost feels like I'm losing my mind because all I read is the same comments over and over every day, but they're also hilarious because they're now getting mixed and mashed together to extremes that I would have never expected.
Yeah. I'm working on this. I don't know what, just in the last week, I got a bee in my bonnet on this little project, this gym equipment project that I'm working on.
Oh,
and I've just gone in. This wasn't 2 weeks ago. I wouldn't have had any interest in this. And all of a sudden I don't know what happened. And I'm like, okay, yep, I'm doing this. So I'm, making a display of all different vintage 45-pound plates.
I was going to ask you about this because you had posted another picture of another, what? Well, actually, we haven't talked about this yet, have we?
Yeah, no. So what I've been doing just within the last week is buying up a whole big variety of vintage 45-pound pairs.
Are you going to do kind of the Efren thing?
Yeah, yes.
Which looks cool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how I'm planning on doing it, and I'll say it out loud on this podcast so people can also comment with their suggestions as to how they would do it differently. I'm pretty quite sure this is actually what I'm going to do, but maybe someone will have a suggestion that I like better or like a slight alteration. But it is an Efren thing, but the only thing I'm interested in at this point is 45s.
Yep. And
I only want one pair of each, and I don't want 35s, I don't want 25s, I don't want 10s, I don't want 5s, anything else. I just want one each unique pair, so that they're all different. And so far I've purchased some of these will mean something to some people, and some of them will mean nothing to some people, but you'll recognize some of these. So I should have, this one's not finalized, but I'm quite sure it is. Will be one pair of Shizzler Eagle 45s, the
what
gray
color?
Okay. Those are the gray. So that's all I can get. So the blues are still on my list. I will put a set of blue on there and gray both. I consider those different, and I just like those. So those will each have a home.
And the blue because the blue are much rarer. Is that why?
They're rarer, and I just think they look cooler.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like them.
But I mean, they are harder to come by, though, aren't they?
They're hard, a little. I guess a little harder. I haven't so far, but I have been looking for those for a while actually. But
okay.
I want the blue Shizzler Eagles. I have a pair of American Olympian 45-pound plates. Those would be hard to find. Those aren't super rare. They're not super old. They're like 1980s deep dish, but I think they look, the script on them, the writing on them looks really cool. And
I can't
if you Google it, you won't even find a picture. No,
cannot find anything Googling those.
No. BFCO. I've got a pair of those bought. Those are moderately collectible, not super cheap and not super expensive. Not super expensive BFCO.
And are these
they usually have a small BFCO on them?
Yep. Okay. I think I got the picture here for some of those. Yep.
Yeah, I got a pair of Marcy 45s, which those look really cool. If you Google those, I think you'll see them. Like Marcy deep dish 45. There's got to be some pictures on there. Yeah. Yeah, and they'll say Los Angeles on the bottom of them. Like the top of the plate says Marcy Co. There's like the X
Oh,
cross
yep,
hub,
I
and
see
the
it
bottom
here.
says
Okay.
Los Angeles. I think those look really cool. I got a pair of those coming.
Yep.
Universal 45s, those are not particularly rare or anything. I just always thought the way that they say Universal on them looks cool. And I don't know, that's a weird word.
Also
I
a
think we talked
very
about that one
generic
last
search
week.
term. Yeah. Where it's,
Yeah.
yeah, that one's like impossible to find on Google with with what I'm typing.
And the particulars of this don't really matter. So anyways,
Okay, so you got some on the way. All right, yeah. So then
I
what's
got
going to
some
happen now?
so I've already bought like 4 or 5 different pairs actually, and then I've got a few things around, of course, already. So what I'm going to do, at first I was thinking, I've got those couple York deep dish that I just mounted the weight horn directly to the stud on the wall. I'm like, with what I want to do, I don't really know if I want to be going and mounting freaking
like a
10
lot
of
for a
these to
wall.
like a couple studs. Yeah, I'm like, it's going to end up being 1,000 pounds,
on just a few studs. Yeah, seems like a lot.
So then I was looking at what some other people had and talking to them, and what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own thing that'll sit right up next to the wall. Where I'm actually think I'm going to put it is directly behind. There's 4 flags right now. There's like the come and take it.
In that corner
like
back
an
by
old
the
Gadsden flag.
back by the
it's
reverse
behind
hyper
the
and-
reverse hyper.
Yep.
And I'm gonna like take a couple of those flags off. I'm gonna build this. What I think I'm gonna use is 108-inch tall bells of steel. What's their 3x3 big? They're big.
The Manicore. post.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy 3 108-inch tall uprights. Their tallest one. Of the Manticore, and then buy 17-inch cross members. So it'll be an upright, 2 17-inch cross members, another upright, 2 more 17-inch cross members, and another upright. The cross members just kind of hold it all together. Those would just go roughly at the top and roughly at the bottom.
Yep.
So then I've got these 3 uprights, and then I would put weight horns in those.
So do they? But what keeps them from tipping over?
So at the base, then I buy those feet, like Rogue sells them.
Oh, like the extension feet or whatever.
Yeah,
it is?
the Rogue extender feet. I don't think Bell's has them. So,
Oh, yeah,
so I'd buy those.
They got them right here.
Maybe
They
they
come
do.
out and go down
Okay.
at kind of a 45-degree angle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I could buy those. Or Rogue has ones that just are even shorter that just come out and go down at like I like the ones that don't stick out like only like 10 inches or so, rather than like I don't really want like the 26-inch ones.
Right.
I want the shorter ones. And then the uprights and that little foot both have holes you could mount into the concrete.
Oh,
so then I would once I get it in place, I would mount it in the concrete, and the uprights would be right up neck against the wall. It actually, I think it actually kind of adds to the display, because then you see this 3x3 black rack thing that everything sits on, and it kind of that becomes part of the display at a certain point.
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually kind of a project now.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more of a project the longer I mess with it and think of what I'm going to do. So that is roughly my plan. And there's plenty of room there. And most of the plates I'm going to put, I went with 108-inch tall uprights because it gives me the reverse hyper is 45 inches tall. So I'll be able to fit at least 3 rows of plates going up
above the reverse
hyper line, or the GHR line, basically.
Yeah.
So 3 rows up and 3 rows wide, so I can at least fit 9 up there, and then really going down that you just couldn't see as well. I could do a couple more rows, so I could really fit 15 sets there.
So would a pair of York deep dish ever make their way onto that display?
Well, that's the tricky part. Is I actually like where both the sets of York deep dishes are at now, because it looks cool. Like they kind of bookend all the bars on the wall over there.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, I may need now one more pair of York deep
even
dish
it out.
Yeah. And what I would say, this makes more sense to someone that's into collecting vintage weights. Most of these ones I all named are not super high end. These are all cheaper than York deep dish plates.
Yeah.
These are all plates that are for a pair that are worth somewhere between $200 and $500 for a pair.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get all these ones because I think they're ones that look cool, but still aren't that expensive. So I can kind of fill this rack up, the top of it right away. And then I think in time, if I decide I want to buy some of the more expensive ones,
they could move them down the
cheap,
shelf.
Yeah,
go more
the
bottom
cheaper
shelf.
ones would go down.
Uh-huh.
It would be the top shelf, like at the bar. It'd be like that's that's how you display it.
The
In my
premium ones
mind,
are up there.
The top shelf, and so that's my theory. At this point.
Okay, all right. Well,
and I don't know how long it'll be till I do this, but that's what I'm roughly planning on doing.
so then, well,
I just think it'll look really cool.
oh, it'll
if
for
I'm
sure
gonna
look
buy
very
these.
cool.
And my thing is, I want all different ones. Like I don't want really want repeats.
Yeah,
on
you
there.
don't want-
I
yeah,
just
you don't
want it to
do
be this
that.
variety thing.
Okay,
right?
so then are there ones that you said like the blue Schisler? Are there other ones that would be on the list that are still somewhat attainable without being absolutely insane?
Yeah, Dan Lurie. If you look, I wonder if there's a good picture of those.
I feel like I've seen those ones before.
And the ones with the tall letters.
Yeah,
And I'm the Dan Lurie ones with the tall letters, and I'm only getting 2-inch Olympic plates also. But I really like the Dan Lurie 2-inch with the tall letters. They look cool.
Any of the plates with the tall, skinny letters look really cool because no one does that anymore.
Yeah, it really makes you think that would be a cool look. So those are really those are reasonably priced too. So I will get a pair of those at some point in time. The Schisler blue ones. Those are kind of the number 1 and number 2 that I'm looking for right now. I've checked a lot of the ones off the list.
Isn't there someone else that makes one with the tall letters on it?
There's York tall letters. Those are really
maybe that's what I'm thinking
collectible.
of.
And like Efren, those are like exceptionally expensive. And then you get into like super expensive stuff like Jacksons and stuff like that.
Oh,
cost
that's
like
probably what I'm thinking
$5,000
of.
a pair. They cost like $5,000 a pair. But I do want a pair of.
Really, they're
Ivanko-
$5,000 a pair? That's what those
if not
go
more.
for?
Yeah, like the Jackson 45s are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a pair.
Oh my God.
What is the the Ivanko Chrome. I want to get a pair of the Ivanko Chrome.
Those are really
OMC.
cool.
Those are $400 or $500 a pair, so to $300, $400, $500, depending on condition and stuff. So I can round up a pair of those. Actually, there was someone in Texas that was selling a pair of those. I messaged him and said, "Hey, would you consider shipping these?" He's like, "No, I don't really want to, but where do you live?" I'm like, "Well, South Dakota, so I'm not going to be driving there." And he goes, "Oh, are you Tanner from Massenomics?"
It said yes.
I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he hasn't seen that since, but I'm like, hopefully that helps mean he would be more likely.
Yeah, push him a
Hopefully his
certain direction.
response is going to be like, "Oh, price for you is double then, you piece of shit."
yeah. For you, I'll make an exception. Yeah, we'll just double this.
I guess the specific plates don't really matter at this point, but I'm more interested in the display of it at this point of like building this display.
I'm gonna.
And then
be very
I didn't
curious to see
specify,
this.
but I'll have the weight horns, that come out
Yeah.
obviously, and that's what the plates would be mounted on. I think it all will work. You asked about how it's going to be secured, and I feel like that being bolted into the ground, and then I could also attach it to the wall up high if I was worried about it too.
You're
I
probably
could tether
fine
it
though,
to a
because you'll
stud.
have 3 uprights. You said.
Yeah, 3 uprights, only 17 inches between them.
Yeah, and then with the feet coming out, and they have feet underneath them too. That's
right.
Actually, I don't know anything about anything, but that seems like that's probably okay.
I mean, we have a big ass concrete slab floor that's God knows how thick, and with it, if they're hammer drilled and bolted into the concrete, like it's not going to tip over. I mean, it's like
Especially if they're bolted in, then you gotta be good there.
right. That's why I think I'll bolt them in, just because the thought of it tipping over. I mean, it would be. I don't think it would be likely, but it would also be horrifically
Not ideal.
dangerous. Yeah, it'd be because there is going to be heavy weights up high. So I do think it's got to, and I still wonder about possibly tethering the top of those uprights to the studs in a couple spots too. Just
to be safe.
Just
You
to be
never
safe.
know. Someone climbs it someday.
True, but I think the display itself will be a bit of a, the framework of it will be like, what is this?
It'll look because some people is like so confused seeing uprights not part of a rack. Like what is going on here? And then also other people that don't know anything about vintage weights are going to be so confused as to what is with this wall of plates. What is this about? I don't even, I get that concept because I've seen people do something similar, but I can see how not that many years ago, if I would have walked into a room like that, I would have just been lost as to what
like
was
to
taking
some
place.
people, I think they're like that. Even if you don't know about vintage plates, you'd be like, "Why are the plates all different?" You'd like, you'd be like,
Why are
"I didn't
these
know
all
there were so many
old
different
looking?"
plates."
Why
Yeah,
do these look so old?
why does they have so many different crappy old plates? So that's my project that I'll be working on at some point in time.
All right. Well, that one could keep you a little busy for a while. I could see that.
I don't know if anyone had that on their 2025 bingo card, but
My bingo card's getting pretty interesting, and we're only in the first month of 2025.
my bingo card's getting full already.
Going for that blackout bingo.
What else do we got this week? Anything?
Is there anything else on the list? I think that's kind of
I
everything.
mean, I think we pretty well made sense, didn't
yeah,
we?
I think so. We made
Someone
it all
said
make
make
sense.
it make sense, and we did it.
The math did math this time.
It all mathed out pretty well. Okay. Make sure to check out our drop like we talked about. Go check out Massenomics YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed, leaving us comments on there. Leave us a comment on this video. What was our video that came out most recently was, by the time this comes out, it's the micro gym tour, right?
Mm-hmm. Tanner's miniature garage gym.
Yeah. Check out my micro gym. The Jack Shack. I actually don't have a name for my. It's just called the Micro Gym.
The Jack Shack's pretty good though. It's Jack.
Yes, it's the Jack Shack. So check out the Jack Shack. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. I just invented a name for my home gym. It's the Jack Shack.
That's good.
It's about masturbation, and my son's name is also Jack. So,
and he's the primary guy working. It all works perfect.
yeah.
I'm
sure I've said this.
Call that a double entendre.
I'm sure I've said this before, but when you're in bunk beds in a military setting, when you lower your whoopee or whatever blanket you have, that's like everyone makes a surround around their bed, and when it's lowered, that means the Jack Shack is, you don't come a knocking. Good person could just be sleeping in there or do not disturb, but they also could be jacking off.
But it is
theory,
most importantly, it is do not disturb.
Disturb at your own risk at the very least.
Proceed with caution.
The Jack Shack. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Tommy, where do they find you at?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can follow me at Tanner_Bear. Just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.